I played a lot of Super Monkey Ball as a kid and sank hours into its arcade-style main campaign, trying and failing time and time again to master its most difficult levels. It's an incredibly fun and addictive game, but there's a lot more to it than just its challenge mode. Super Monkey Ball has a reputation for not just its excellent single-player offerings, but equally for its status as a ridiculously fun party game. It has some awesome minigames like Monkey Billiards, Monkey Bowling, and Monkey Fight, which were always a blast to play with friends. I got a ton of enjoyment out of all of them, but for me, one game from this collection stands out above the rest. Allow me to introduce you to the one and only Monkey Target. The premise of Monkey Target is simple. All you have to do is roll your monkey down a ramp, launch him into the sky, open up your ball and take flight, and try your best to land on a target and bag yourself as many points as possible. Each round will have multiple targets that you can go for, which are all different sizes and shapes, like circles, pyramids, and pies. Some targets will be closer to you and some will be further away, with the far off targets typically having more points up for grabs on them. The targets are all divided into segments, or zones, each of which being worth a different amount of points. The harder to reach or riskier to go for zones, like the ones on top of the pyramids for instance, are usually worth more points, so you have to try your best to land within them. However, it's likely that, at first, you'll end up getting absolutely humbled by this game and get significantly fewer points than you were going for, or even none at all if you end up missing the target completely and falling into the endless ocean beneath. It just makes it even more satisfying when you finally get to grips with this mode and properly learn how to actually earn yourself some points. Scattered throughout your flight path, you can also find bunches of bananas to pick up in trails, and if you're able to collect them, which is a lot harder than it looks by the way, they can further add to your score. All while you're doing this, there's this calm, relaxing tune that plays in the background which complements the openness of the sprawling ocean in front of you perfectly. It creates an almost blissful atmosphere, which I was always a big fan of. It's a fun contrast to how heated, zany, and intense the rest of the game can get. Speaking of which, one thing that's always impressed me about the two main Monkey Ball GameCube games as a whole is the sheer degree of control that you have over your monkey. Every slight, precise movement you make with the joystick has a very subtle, yet undeniably noticeable effect on the motion of your character, and that's something that's absolutely preserved in Monkey Target. There are so many fine, micro adjustments that you can make that can greatly affect how your monkey will fly. When you're rolling down the ramp, for example, you can either just full send yourself down it for a powerful launch, or you can purposely slow yourself down if you want to start off more gently. Then you need to think about when to open up your wings. If you do it early, when you're at a high altitude, your monkey will soar gracefully through the sky at a manageable, easy to control pace. Open up a little later, and it changes the game completely, and you'll be flying off like a rocket. Then, when you're actually in the air, you can either choose to push forward on the control stick to dip down and pick up some speed at the cost of some altitude, or instead pull back to gain some altitude at the cost of some speed. As you approach the target, you have to close your ball at the perfect time so you can land in the exact position that you want, but you have to take into account that your monkey will absolutely roll upon landing and may completely roll off the target if you're not careful. Your speed in the air very much translates to your landing, so if you're coming in too hot, you need to make sure that you close the ball earlier than you otherwise would. That's what this game is about. You have to carefully manage the speed of your monkey depending on the circumstances surrounding you. Go too fast and you'll likely zoom past your intended target or miss the specific point zone that you're going for entirely. Slow down too early and you might not even make it to the target at all. As a kid, I always just went full speed and tried to close my ball early to compensate, but that was a pretty inconsistent strategy. Now when I play this game, I try to slow down on the approach to the targets by pulling back on the control stick so I can carefully choose where I want my monkey to land and secure as many points as possible. What complicates things is the fact that each round the wind will be blowing in a random direction and at a random speed. This is something that you definitely have to factor into account when planning which target you want to land on and how you're going to approach the round. Sometimes the wind will be blowing harshly to the left or the right, making it almost a necessity to land on a target in that direction. Alternatively, it could be blowing towards you, making it significantly more difficult to land on the further and typically higher point scoring targets unless you tactically open your ball super late. The wind also plays a large part in the process of of landing as well, since if you don't factor it into account, it can very easily blow you away from your intended landing spot, and most likely into a lower point scoring area. On top of all that, you have the help items. These are essentially power-ups that you can access by collecting bananas. They range from being able to negate the effects of the wind, having a monkey immediately stop upon landing rather than rolling, doubling, or even tripling your score. Each banana that you collect upgrades the item that you'll gain access to in a sequential manner, with the more desirable ones requiring you to collect more bananas. At the start of each round, you can choose whether to activate your current bonus or to instead hold off and hope you get a better one. However, what adds to the complexity of this decision is the fact that if you collect too many bananas, you'll cycle back to the beginning of the list of power-ups, meaning that if you bide your time for too long, you could end up missing out on what you want. As such, you really need to think tactically about whether or not to activate these at the start of each turn. Sure, you could use your magnet ball to land on a target with perfect precision, but when the triple score multiplier is just that one banana away, it's hard not to be tempted to hold off. Now, while the bonuses work in your favour, there is one aspect of this game that absolutely has the potential to work against you, that being the Wheel of Danger. At the start of each round, the wheel will spin and randomly land on a space, resulting in one of 4 potential outcomes. If you're lucky, you'll get off scot-free, but more often than not, you'll be hit with some type of handicap. Sometimes, the whole area will become foggy, making it harder to see your targets and difficult to judge where you need to land. Other times, spike bombs will appear in the air, which can definitely catch you off guard if you're flying in too low to land on a target. And, perhaps the deadliest of them all is the bomb. This spawns in a bunch of bombs on the surface of each target, and if your monkey happens to roll into one of these, you can say goodbye to all of your points. The Wheel of Danger adds a real element of randomness to the game, which can definitely spice things up, but equally has the potential to be very frustrating if you're trying to secure a personal best. Even with its chaotic nature though, this is a feature of the game that I absolutely love, and if you play with it turned off, you are a coward. All of this mechanical depth shows just how much thought was put into this little game mode. This is bolstered by all of the hidden secrets and cute details that were added in. I mean, just look at all the unique animations here. The celebrations of the monkeys when they score high amounts of points, the fact that there are 2 different drowning animations depending on whether you land in the water with the ball open or closed. No monkeys were harmed in the making of this video, I promise. And then there's the fact that they even tucked a couple of bananas just underneath the ramp on either side. I cannot see any fathomable reason that you'd ever want to risk going for these, since you can completely mess up your round by doing so, and the reward is incredibly minimal, but it's neat that they put them there. Perhaps the coolest little Easter egg is the fact that you can actually land on the ramp itself before you even take off, by opening and closing your ball while you're still on it. If you do this, you'll actually get a massive 1 point for your efforts, and the announcer has a unique voice line for this event and will say, One thing I always tried as a kid was turning around right at the beginning and flying in the complete opposite direction to the targets to see if they hit anything back there. Much to my dismay, there was nothing but the endless ocean, but it was still fun to just mess around like that and have fun with this mode. I adored Monkey Target as a kid, and I find myself coming back to it quite often as an adult now. Sometimes on a quiet evening when I just want to unwind, I'll fire up Super Monkey Ball and play a few rounds to see if I can best any of my previous attempts. It's something I've been doing quite a bit more as of late, which has helped me to gain even more of an appreciation for this mode, and it's a big part of why I decided to make this video in the first place. It has returned in subsequent Monkey Ball games, but for me they were never quite able to recapture the same magic that kept me coming back to the first one. The version in Monkey Ball 2 was great too, and I remember you could roll like 5 monkeys down the ramp simultaneously, which was pretty dope. I just didn't play it as much as the first iteration, but I probably would have appreciated it more if I did. For all the flack Monkey Ball Adventure gets, I actually didn't hate its version of Monkey Target, apart from the loading screens in between every round. While it has nothing on the OG, its league's better than whatever this is. Come on man, you can't call this Monkey Target, what is this? Shooting out of a cannon instead of rolling down a ramp, very questionable flight physics, it's an insult to the Monkey Target name. Banana Blitz may have butchered this mode, but I was hopeful for Banana Mania, the HD remake of the first 2 games. On the surface, Monkey Target actually looks promising here. At the very least, it seems to be a somewhat faithful recreation and combination of the versions from the first 2 games. Sadly, however, it kind of falls flat and suffers from a lot of the same issues as Banana Blitz's version. I mean, it looks like he gets to roll down a ramp like in the classics, but the actual jump is just a scripted event. almost like being shot out of a cannon. Your speed going down the ramp doesn't completely translate here, and it just feels stilted and awkward. Add to that the flight controls not being great again, and it's a surefire recipe for an overall mediocre experience. It's not completely terrible once you acclimatize yourself to the new physics. It's a much slower paced game of carefully managing your altitude by not dipping down or pulling back too excessively. It's an improvement from Banana Blitz for sure, and I eventually got used to it, but I really didn't enjoy it anywhere close to how much I enjoyed the originals. Much like the rest of the OG Super Monkey Ball as a whole, Monkey Target is a seemingly simple experience, but behind that unassuming exterior lies something far greater. An addictive side mode with a surprising amount of depth that will keep you coming back to refine your strategy, optimize your playstyle, and shoot for higher and higher scores each time you play. Monkey Target is a truly special mode and is far more than a simple distraction from the main campaign. It's genuinely a genius concept, and well, I guess you could say they stuck the landing.